I want to keep this video short and sweet and to the point. You're probably seeing the title and some of you may be agreeing with me and some of you may be disagreeing with me. And in the past 2 weeks, I've seen a variety of opinions and I've kept my mouth shut. With WWE 2K20 coming out, we now know the DLC. We know how the DLC is going to release. Well, we know DLC pack number 1, but we don't necessarily know modes. We have cryptic tweets from guys like Xavier Woods who mentioned, hey, if you're a fan of GM mode, wait a few months. Whether that means he's coming out with his own mobile game or something like that. He does have a very popular show, Battle of the Brands, on Up Up Down Down, so a video game, mobile game, whatever would correlate with that to something in GM mode would be pretty cool. But when it comes to GM mode, you probably know me for GM mode if you've been on my channel long enough. You've probably at some point seen me play GM mode. If you never have, GM mode is the one thing I defaulted back to. If I didn't know what to do, I did GM mode. It was something that was popular, something that I enjoyed doing, but at the same time, I don't want it in WWE 2K20, and I want to explain why in this video. There are 5 big points I want to get to, and I'm not going to highly edit this video. It's coming from the heart because I truly care about this, and I want to lay out logic and reason for why we don't need GM mode. Number 1 being, GM mode and Universe are pretty much the exact same thing. Whether you want to believe it or not, GM mode and Universe mode have a lot in common, and to be honest with you, it's probably the same mode, just re-skinned and refurbished. GM mode back in the day, and I can't speak for 06 because I didn't play 06. I played 07 and 08 quite a bit. Now, one of the things that hindered those GM modes was the roster size. Back then, they couldn't put in that many roster members. So you had to fight, especially when you ran the 3 brands with ECW and 08, there was a lot of talent. And then the ways to beat the talent and get around that would be to like cheese the game and do like trophy dates and build up a superstar to 100 and then trade them away for 2 to 3 superstars. That way you could build up your roster, but then the year would go exactly the same way. No matter what you did, the fans went up, the fans went down, pretty much on a point. So I think we have a skewed memory of how good GM mode actually was. But Universe mode is very dynamic, and there's a lot you can do within Universe mode, from unlocking the superstars' attributes, abilities. Everything can be saved now with the addition of save slots, which was a pretty big addition when they added it in 17 or 18, or I don't remember when the year they added it. So when you have custom attributes, if you do exhibition matches and Universe, you could choose to save it only in play now or only for Universe mode, which was a huge addition. And the things you had to do back then was train the superstars up, and now you could pretty much just set them to whatever. So if they were to do something, feature number 2, well, they're not the same, well, they pretty much are the same thing. You could reskin a lot of what was in the old game and bring it into now. Take Universe mode news, for example. I don't think I've ever once gone to the news page. The news page sucks, and I'm sorry, 2K. This is my blunt, honest opinion. The news page is pointless, it sucks, and it's not worth my time. I don't even bother unless it gives me a cool screen grab or something like that. It sucks. In 07 and 08, you got like a computer report and it was pretty much text. There wasn't really pictures. I think that one year you had a magazine and one of the story modes, things like that. But for the most part, you could bring back the stuff that was in GM mode. And one of the biggest things I'm going to talk about here up in a second, number 3, is in number 2, when you have that mode, when you have GM mode and you have Universe mode and you reskin that stuff, right? I could go into attributes and crank up all the attributes. But if you gave me stuff in Universe mode, like objectives for players, like if I'm doing a promo and then I do my objectives and it, changes rankings a little bit, if I can more visually see that, how it's affecting my superstar. If my superstar is not doing good, and then I can select an option, train it to PC at the Performance Center. Or, he's at a hard schedule, he's getting beat up, so let him take a vacation. That's something that would be cool to be added to Universe mode. We don't need an entirely separate GM mode for that. Literally, and if you've gotten to this point of the video, WWE 2K could just slap on the words MyGM Universe Mode, and it would pretty much be GM mode. There are a couple other things we're going to talk about in just a little second that's different, but refurbishing what's already there, right? Taking those days in between, if you don't have shows on certain days, and if I choose to take out the shows, I could have objectives or abilities and things I could change if I only want to have a show Monday and Wednesday. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, minus the pay-per-view days, could be used to work on stuff. Superstar attributes, promo skills, rather than just going in and cracking everything up. I think would be a good addition to Universe mode. Number 3, the calendar. Now, this is kind of a big one because in Universe mode, you can't go back and see what happened, and it sucks. One of my favorite things about GM mode was being able to go back and analyze the shows for a pay-per-view to see the star ratings, to see how it did. Once you sim ahead, you're screwed. You can't go back. And that's one of the things I think kind of holds it back. And to go along with the calendar are the matches and the stories. There are probably a lot of great stories in Universe Mode with cutscenes and stories you can do. The problem is I can select a short rivalry, a medium rivalry, or a long rivalry. Now I can change the intensity, but I can't pick what actually happens. In WWE 2K13 and 14, or WWE 13 and 2K14, you had Story Creator, and you had Story Creator before that too, but the Story Creator allowed you to pretty much set up whatever you wanted, which was essentially a version of Universe Mode, but you could use cutscenes. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating for cutscenes, although for the love of God, please, I'm advocating for the same thing that GM Mode had a flaw. GM Mode, if you picked up the game and went straight into it and tried to play, what would happen was you wouldn't necessarily have legends, because to unlock legends back then, you had to play game modes with money. So you had to do a season mode, and you had to simulate, and you had to get money, and you had to buy the legends. And if you didn't buy the legends, guess what? You only had one game save. So if I go in and started a GM mode, and then I went over to a story mode, it would override it and erase it. One of the biggest detriments. So by giving me a calendar, I can go back on and change the matches. I don't want to just select a short, medium, or long-term rivalry. Just unlock all the stories for me. If you have to throw it into a DLC pass and call it the accelerator, unlock everything, I don't care. When I play Universe Mode and it's what they call a sandbox, I want to be able to pick any story I want. I want to be able to pick where my superstar goes or what he does. 08 had this, although you really never saw cutscenes or anything like that, or at least I didn't in all the time I played. You could unlock and pay for stories. Shout out Corey Ledesma, he was one of the writers in the year, where you had to use your money to unlock different stories, like Loser Leaves the Brand, Win a Diva's Heart, Hungry Challenger, all those stories if you remember back in 07 and 08. Do that. If you have to use VC and you make me unlock stuff, fine. But when I set up a story in Universe Mode where anything can happen and I'm in control, I want to pick the damn stories that go along with it, straight up. And I don't need that to be called GM mode. Universe mode already has that, but I'm limited. So that needs to get changed. Number 4, and this isn't necessarily so much one of the things that's wrong with Universe mode versus one of the things that made GM mode better. Between the ratings and everything going on now, you do kind of have a GM mode. Raw and SmackDown are split. You have different brands and different shows, and you have the dumb wild card rule, which we don't even need to debate. And shows matter. Raw versus SmackDown heats up. You have Survivor Series where you pit champion versus champion. The 5v5 Survivor Series matches. You have where they fight for dominance once or twice a year. This year you have King of the Ring with Raw versus SmackDown. So I don't know how you would necessarily work it, but give me the availability to at least see who's putting on a better show. Going back to the calendar, let me go back and see how that show did. If all the matches were getting 5 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars, let me go back and analyze why. Is it because they were in a rivalry? That's one of the bigger things that really drove me nuts, and that's also related to the calendar, is rivalries in GM mode 07 and 08. You had to put them in matches week after week after week. That's why I say Universe mode is pretty much the successor to GM mode. They just strip stuff out. Because in Universe mode, it was just repetitive matches until they gave the ability to see the rivalries. When you set that up in, like, I think it was 13 that I was doing it, I was like, okay, how do I go in and change the rivalries? You couldn't. So what would happen was it would be off screen. You couldn't see anything. Well, in 07 and 08, you could see the rivalries, but if you went one week and said, hey, listen, oh man, they've been fighting single match, table match, Extreme Rules. Let me go ahead and give them a break. Guess what? All your progress on the rivalry broke, and it stopped, and it ended, and it sucked because you had to book the same repetitive matches. That when I became a YouTuber, that was one of my biggest criticisms with 12 and 13 was the fact that every single thing I had to do was match after match after match, and I couldn't like book anything creative. Like they weren't doing 6-mans, they weren't doing stuff like that. So I'd like the availability to not only have rivalries, but maybe put in branching versions of a rivalry. If it's Universe and it's Sandbox, let me pick a rivalry. And let's say I pick a storyline that's going to involve interference from a superstar. Let me pick which superstar I can interfere with. If I set up a rivalry like the No Diva Heart thing, let's say we do a cheesy love storyline. Let me pick which female talent goes in that slot versus just randomly picking somebody. Rather than having somebody come out like now with WWE 2K20, you can have a manager. You can pick your allies. You can select the level of rivalry, the level of manager. There's a lot of things that Universe Mode has under the hood right now that could be extrapolated by some of these features. I'm just please give me that stuff. I want the branching storylines. And finally, number 5, the most important thing that I want in a WWE Universe Mode GM type experience is to have fun. I'm not necessarily going to say 07 and 08 were fun, because a lot of the times they did get repetitive, and I don't know if it was my own creative imagination. I don't know if it was the fact that I would stream and make videos for you guys and you guys would get involved, versus if somebody was just playing it at home and they were running their own GM mode and it was the exact same thing. I just want it to be fun. And I think all of these changes were, if you're gonna have a sandbox universe mode, give me all the options. That's fun to me. Like, if I wanna create a storyline, I wanna be able to pick what kind of storyline they're gonna have. Now, yeah, it's great to have the random cutscenes where if you open up universe mode, everybody gets the same thing. But if you allow me the option to go in and change all those stories, it makes it better for me, and it's something that's more enjoyable. This is definitely something I've wanted in video games, and especially with universe mode, because even when they added the rivalry lengths and the rivalry heat, it still never felt like enough, because I don't know if this works. So you guys will have to let me know if this works. I heard somebody say one year that if you sim a couple years of universe mode, you unlock storylines. I don't know if that's true or not, but that would be cool. I want to have all these storylines unlocked. Now, when it comes to a GM mode, again, I don't want GM mode, because GM mode and universe mode, if you look at it closely, it's the same thing. Just each has options stripped out of it, and they're both meant for different purposes. But with the brand split now with Raw versus SmackDown, especially on USA and Fox, there's going to be a little bit more competition. Give me the availability to see brand stuff, see what show's doing better. Let me see the star ratings. Let me go back in the calendar. Let me adjust the rivalries. Let me adjust the superstar talent. Let me, in their off days, give me the ability to do stuff with them. Maybe send them down to the performance center. Maybe a talent's not doing very well, and you have the option of, if a loser leaves the brand match happens, give me actual animation so I can see them leave the brand. Let me have that kind of stuff, versus back in the day, I would set up a loser leaves the brand match, and 9 times out of 10, I had to then go and trade the superstar myself, which if I set up storylines and stuff, I want to be able to see that. If we have, maybe we do like an unmasking thing where they make more storylines where it's a luchador getting unmasked. So like with Rey Mysterio now, he was going to take off his mask. Give me the availability to pick a storyline where if I have a luchador character, you can have the mask come off, and then it cuts to a cutscene where the mask is getting revealed, because in wrestling culture and luchador culture, that's huge. These are just some of the additions I think I wanted a GM mode, and it's one of the reasons why I don't want it to be called GM mode, and I think we have to stop calling it GM mode, because GM mode and universe mode are pretty much the same damn thing. And if you feel differently about it, let me know in the comment section below why. What did you like better in GM mode? What do you miss about GM mode? What do you like better about universe mode? All this stuff can correlate, and like I said, at the end of the day, WWE 2K, if you're watching this, just literally call it MyGM Universe Mode, and it solves all your problems. Rebrand news, give me the availability to see how my fans are, and social media, and throw in tweets like you do NBA GM Mode and the NBA careers where you get tweets from superstars. Let me see, Big Show comment on what happened on Raw. Let me see, not Jim Cornette or any of that, but let me see people that are relevant to the wrestling world, like Dave LaGreca or Bully Ray, or people that comment, or ESPN reporters, or let me feel more immersive inside universe mode. You don't have to call it GM mode for me, at least for me. Just give me more features that help resemble a GM, and maybe call it MyGM Universe. So that's where I want to wrap it up. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be highly edited. I don't think it's going to be fancy. This is just something I've waited and I've heard people's opinions on, and I really just want a good universe mode, because I'm not one of the people that keeps pining for the past. Except for creative stories. Please, for the love of God, give me creative stories. WWE 2K14, #1, best game of all time. Seriously, creative stories were the best. Imagine after the last 4 years of all the cutscenes we've had, things you could do, if we actually had a story creator in WWE 2K20 and hide panel. Anyway, until next time, guys, I've been Tubby Emo. I hope you enjoyed this real look at my thoughts and opinions on this. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Leave a comment down below what you think. And you can follow me on social media. And if you want to, hit the bell notification. That way you don't miss an upload or a video. You can check out some of the other stuff I've been doing, Road to WrestleManias. I do have to stream a GM mode pay-per-view coming up. So, Hey, Tubby, if you remember to put this at the start, guys, we do have a GM mode pay-per-view coming up. And I don't remember which pay-per-view it is, but in our SVR 08 series, Tubby, where's the GM mode been? I have to find a day to live stream, so that's where it's been. Until next time, this has been your boy Tubby, but thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all later.
Problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like